Hey everybody, it's Casual Boops coming at you with another video, and today we're going to cover the VK72.01K, or the VKK for short. The VKK is a Tier 10 German heavy tank that you can only get from playing Tier 10 Clan Wars campaigns. Usually they happen about usually about twice a year, and if you're watching this when it's released in mid-June of 2021, there should be another campaign happening in about a month. We don't know exactly when at this point, but the second half of July it looks like, and so it's possible. We don't know which tanks will be made available, but maybe this will be one of them. Where you could get your hands on this thing if you so choose. But anyways, onto the tank. It is essentially, in many ways, a copy of the tech tree Panzerkampf 7 or whatever. So with some important differences that I'll go over. But the VKK, what is it? How does it work? Why do you care about this? It is a rear-mounted. It's a rear-mounted tank. When you would think it'd be all about side scraping because it's got a turret that's rear-mounted and it's got a big stupid gun. And so that's really what that's the whole thing about the tank. It's fairly well armored. I guess you would call it a super heavy, but the armor is questionable. But really what it's all about is the gun. And 750 Alpha slaps pretty hard. Also the gun was most recently, or I guess recently, buffed to the point where the penetration is 350 millimeters on the premium heat shell that it gets, which is hilarious. It's really good. So so it's got a long reload, and the gun is very derpy, and the shell velocity on the heat rounds is horrendously slow, and the AP rounds are not much better. So it's very common to see people shooting a lot of heat out of this thing, because with a gun that's as derpy as this one is, you oftentimes, like, if you could put the shell where you wanted, then 246 might be able to get it done. But this thing is meant to be brawling, and like you're going to be facing things like, IS-7s and Type 5s and mice and things, and 246 pen just does not get it done a lot. So, tap 2 and become 350 millimeters of heat penetration, unstoppable god tier, awesome. And this is what you get. So it's not very fast. 10 power to weight is not very good. It's just, it's a super heavy, right? It's slower. 7 degrees of gun depression over the front is okay. It's 5 over the front, which you can see right here, directly over the front, and then 7 over, off to the side, which makes sense when you look at the armor model. When you're looking straight down over the front, this is what you get. But then if you go off to the side a little bit, you can put the gun down a little more, I suppose. So mostly it's 5 over the front, but if you move off to the side, it's 7, which is fine. 400 meters of view range is great for a heavy tank. It's got the standard, I guess it's got a 5-man crew, which I don't think that's really, I guess it matches the Pz7 on the tech tree, so that's nice. But yeah, to be honest, this is kind of like it's just all about the gun. There's not really a whole bunch else to say about it. The armor we'll go over in just a second, but equipment wise, I would do everything you possibly can to make the gun behave. And this is going to be a little bit debatable, I suppose. But this is the setup that I would usually run if you have this thing, if you're wondering what you should do with it. Of course, a lot of people that have this are better at the game than me because it's Clan Wars exclusive, so they'll already know what to be using. But generally it's, DPM for, rammer, and then vertical stabilizer, and then IRM to just, you got to make this gun behave as much as you possibly can, and this is how you make that happen. So, yeah, so armor models. As I mentioned before, the armor is very similar. The tank is very similar to the Pz7 on the tech tree. So the Pz7 doesn't get that big stupid 750 Alpha gun. It gets a gun that does, I think, 560 damage. And it doesn't really have very good DPM. So like, this isn't about the Pz7, but like, they really need to make that thing worth playing, because right now it really isn't. Now this thing at least is fun. And the other big difference between this VKK and the Pz7 is that you'll notice these, what would you call this? The fighting compartment? The part where the crew is in here. You see where it kind of bulges out, right? If you're thinking you're going to side scrape. This part, right? So it's 190, 180 millimeters of thickness, depending on which exact part you're looking at. And then the tech tree, the Pz7, is only 160. So, lol, it's even worse than the Pz7. So, this is the thing about this tank that's a little bit of a misnomer, because people look at this and they think, oh great, I'll just side scrape, it'll be awesome. And so then they do that, and they do one of these things, and then you get shot right here. So this is bad news bears. It's a little bit tricky to use this thing to its advantage, to its fullest potential, because it does have this cupola weak spot. It's got this weak spot right here, and then you can also get, if you're really close to this thing, if you're face hugging it, you can shoot it on the side of the mantlet and pen pretty well too. So like the armor, like I said, it's kind of questionable. And then of course, if you got the lower plate, like, and this is, let's just say that it's shooting heated itself, 350 millimeters of heat pen. This is what it looks like, right? So if you're playing tier 10 and they're spamming the gold like they so often do, this is about how well you can expect your armor to hold up, which is, it's not very good here. So if you can't side scrape in it, what do you do? Well, this tank is a little weird because the way to make the armor work on this thing is to do what most tanks don't do. This is the opposite of what you should do in most other tanks, which is to pull out, like instead of poking back around a corner like this and backing up and then shooting, instead what you do is push your front out in a way that would be stupid. So like you're driving forward here, putting your front out and then shooting. And that's protecting, so like what the enemy sees is there's a hill, there's like, a building here, and you show them this. Well, you're like, well, boops, what about this lower plate? Well, okay, so yeah, this looks green right now, but this is against 350 millimeters of heat pen. So like if 246 pen looks like this. And if you compare it to, I don't know, let's just say like a Russian medium tank, which has really, really good pen, but like standard rounds from a Russian medium, premium rounds from a Russian medium, that's pretty good, right? That's 50-50-ish. And if you, God forbid, you can use some kind of angling. I mean, if you're looking up at things or whatever. But this is about as good as it gets. So you stick the front out at an angle, right? If you're flat on, you got a problem. But if you angle it like this, you're in pretty good shape. And so this is kind of the opposite of what you do in almost every other tank in the game. And so this is why you will so often see people play this tank. Well, most people that play this tank know what they're doing, but you see people playing the Pz7 wrong, and they'll be trying to side scrape, and then you shoot them here. But if you stick your front out, and this is not weak, and so this is how you play the tank. So the armor can be defeated if people play it poorly, which they so often do. But if they're playing it correctly, the answer is, you're going to have a hard time. It's still got this turret weak spot, but generally what this tank likes to do is trade, right? So maybe you shoot it once for 400, but it shoots you back for 750. So this is what the tank does. It's very similar to in feel to like an E100, right? E100s are all about trading. They have all kinds of hit points, and you might hit them, but they'll hit you back. So yes, that's the VKK. Situational. But, it can be really, really fun with that heat round, and, hitting things for 750 is always a great time. So without further ado, we'll get into the gameplay. All right, so getting into the game here, we're watching me play with the VKK on El Haluf in a standard battle. There's some tier 9s in the game, 3 artillery each side. We get our platoon mate Schwacked in his IS-7, and we're going to head to the brawling area at C1, like you so often do on El Haluf. Great map design, but this is basically where we need to be. We need to close the distance. This tank does not like, sniping. It's not really what it's for, and so it really needs to get in as close to enemies as possible. And you're seeing, PTAs, medium tanks, are flying past us. IS-7, it's not the fastest tank in the world, but he's gone. So this is an idea of the speed. This definitely has the super heavy, like, speed that you can expect. So it's definitely not a fast tank. But, this is that doesn't mean you can't have good games or have fun in it, but some people don't like slow tanks. And so if slow tanks aren't your thing, then this is going to be a thing that you're not going to like this one either. So we just have to go ahead and keep waiting, and eventually we'll get there. Gonna get to this corner, and looks like our 1-2-1 is trying to brawl with a whole bunch of guys up on the corner, even though at A1 up there, even though there's 3 artillery, that corner is not safe to play when there's 3 artillery in the game, because you're not already safe, ever. And so I think our 1-2-1 is about to find out the hard way why you don't do that. And, you know, here we just wait, because those guys aren't going to pull forward and poke this corner until the 1-2-1 is dead. So we just, and there's nothing we can do. We can't push across, because then we'll be in the same spot as him, and Skoda's, all the mediums that are up on the hill are gonna eat us as we cross, and so that was inevitable. Sorry to let you die there, buddy, but you kind of did it to yourself. So we wait patiently, and we have our heat rounds loaded, because that's what you do with this tank. And a little bit of a low roll there, but you can see, like, you know, that was the pike of the IS-7. He angled it poorly, and we were able to throw a shot in there. And this is what we do. You know, like, they're going to shoot at us, and we're going to shoot at them, and that's okay. And we're hoping to throw our heat rounds in into, you know, cupolas of E5s, and I'm trying to hug this corner between my shots so that the artillery doesn't have more shots on us. But I'm, again, not side-scraping off this corner. I'm poking out and giving my angled front plate. Wait for it. Yahtzee. 829 damage, and the ever-present artillery trying to keep us in balance. But this is what you do. You know, we've been lucky because we've been trading really well when people haven't penned us. But even if they had, every single one of those tanks, except for the T-95, hits for less than us. So as long as we're trading 1 for 1, we're still coming out on top. So we wait for it, and the E5 was doing it right. He was picking up his barrel, doing barrel blocking. I've talked about that in previous games. Doing it correctly, trying to get his barrel in between us and his cupola. But, you know, he was unlucky in that way, where we managed to throw a shot in anyways. So the other thing is, because this is a big, stupid gun. Okay, that one we didn't get lucky on that one. But because this is a big, stupid gun, when in doubt, you can also load HE, which is I'm about to do now. And I guess, to be honest, this might change once the once the HE changes go through. Maybe this will become less viable. But it is just a big, dumb cannon, and so, you know, 150 millimeter cannon can throw down some pretty serious damage for HE rounds, unless you hit the tracks of a T-95, and you only do, what is that, 24. So, very good. And I'm trying to keep aware of the map, because we seem to have a pretty good handle on things, but I went around to try to pick up that Conway, and he had been picked up already. So this is kind of what we're doing. We have to chew through some of this stuff, and I don't know. Somehow we must have penned that E5's mantlet. I'm not entirely certain, but unlucky for that guy. Twice in 2 different times we've managed to pen him right through the front. But this is the kind of stuff that you can get with 350 millimeters of heat pen. It just, options are open to you in ways that they aren't normally. And, you know, luckily for us, the IS-7 is shooting HE, and the AP rounds from that T-95 are going to have a really hard time penning us in the ways, you know, with the things that we're showing the enemy. And so this is where we live. This is what you do in this tank. You poke corners, you brawl, you knife fight, you trade favorably, and you wait for your shot. Wait for it. And we had to send it in. I knew Schwack was going to poke the corner here, but I didn't want to wait a long time to reload. But you can see we've started to lose the ramp up top. Our guys have fallen back. We're still holding the base pretty well, but I know that after this round, it looks like that 50 TP is about to curl around on us. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to keep backing up so that even if they push around Schwack, they'll have overlapping layers of fire where they can't encircle both of us. I see a Foch-B coming, and I'm just going to back up, because the Foch-B can eat an IS-7, and so I don't want to give him. Okay, we throw one into the IS-7. And you see everyone's backing up. Everyone's pulling through. This is going to be the push, and so trying to read that. Good on the artillery here for you know, seeing that, reading the map, and trying to blunt their advance, stop them from playing the game. So very good. And now I know I have one shot here, and I want to land on the IS-7. So although there is a shot, and well, you know, I guess it doesn't matter. The idea there was to, you know, take a gun out of the fight, and the IS-7 was about 650 hit points. So I figured, okay, well, I can do this. But I was very quickly going to run out of run out of space there. He was backing up, using his enemy or his ally as a meat shield, as you should. So he was playing very well, and I just decided to take the hit that I could. And I had to send the shot. You know, we don't have to... This is what I'm talking about with the aiming. There was no way to aim that thing in a way that was going to work well. And now the best way, so Pz7 is flanking around the other side, and we're going to try to stay already safe here while Schwacht has him backed up. And since we're fairly safe here, wait for it, heat round says no. Okay, but you know, so heat rounds do troll sometimes in the accuracy, even when we're allowed to just sit here and aim the gun. Sometimes BKK just says no, right? That's just the price you pay with the thank you very much, artillery. With great power comes great responsibility, right? With great alpha damage comes awful accuracy, and so sometimes you are gonna whiff the shots that you absolutely should not whiff, and sometimes you're gonna just throw it out there, and sometimes those shots are gonna hit, and you're gonna feel like a god. So now we're going to experience some of the other downsides of this tank that we've already seen before, which is, again, the mobility, right? So looking at the map, our artillery has wisely fallen back. We're still holding the base, but the enemy has tried valiantly to take the base. We still have, you know, 704 and a Grill 15 are back there, so they have this, right? I'm not worried about having to go back to the base to finish, to figure that out, because they should have this. They shouldn't need us to come back and figure that out for them. My biggest concern now is not finding a T-95 with my face, and also not getting caught out in the middle of the open with 3 artillery, because those are the, you know, the artillery are just, they are what they are, you know, the ever-present sky gods that decide your fate, especially when there's 3 of them and they're firing in unison. So we're going to do the flankerino. Schwacht has located the T-95, and we're going to see if we can't put the pinch on him. 13 kilometers at a time. Just wait for it. Patience. With tanks like this, with any kind of a slow tank, you're just going to need to be patient, because you do have the armor, right? We've bounced 3,000 damage this game so far, and you just sometimes, whenever you need to move, the downside of that is that you gotta be patient. We don't shoot the T-95 in the tracks, we hit him above the tracks in the hull. And Schwacht putting the 1-2 punch in there like a good teammate. Very nice. And that guy did not have a good time. Honestly, if I was him, I think the T-95, once he'd located the Pz7, this is, oh my god, this is what Alpha is all about. Of course, it's hard to know. He had no way of knowing where I was, and so it's easy to look at that and with, you know, on the armchair and say, oh, you should have done this. But like, you know, I think the only way to, when you're outnumbered like that, you just have to be aggressive, right? And so, I'm guessing at where the Kunzi is. I have no idea. And then Schwacht pings where the T-95 or T-92 is. But you just have to be aggressive, because you know that if the T-95 should have known anyways, that if he was going to sit there, eventually we were going to flank. Oh my god, it just slaps so hard. So this is what you play. Like, the Pz7, I don't really care for it, partially because it is the exact same tank, except without this big meaty alpha and penetration. So why? Why does it exist? It doesn't have very good DPM. I don't think it even has any better DPM. So, like, why would anyone play this tank over that tank? I don't know. But, yeah, so this is really what the tank is for. It's all about trading on corners and just big, meaty alpha. You know, and it's a little slow, so for that reason, it's not going to be for everybody. But, you know, it can be a good game. It can be a good time when you're in the mood. Alright, so at the end of the game, we picked up 7,200 damage and 5 kills, with 3,000 blocked and 1,500 assist. I think all of that was spotting from artillery and so on and so forth. That gave us the high caliber, the ace tanker, the steel wall, yeah, and a whole slew of spotter badge. Man, I guess it just sort of happened that game. That gave us 1,430 base XP, which is a pretty good score, especially for a tier 10. And we even managed to pull a profit of 89,000 credits, which is fairly uncommon. We must have gotten fairly, I mean, at the end there we were shooting AP rounds instead of heat rounds, and most of our heat rounds went in. Because of the alpha damage, the heat rounds are not terribly expensive. So as long as you're penetrating your heat rounds, you can shoot the heat and still make pretty good money. So anyways, that is the game, and thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this helps you decide whether this tank is something that you want to work for toward the next Clan Wars season or campaign if they make this available, or maybe this has helped you decide that you don't want this tank ever at all. Both of those are okay things. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, do the things, and we'll see you on the next one. And okay, bye.